China's having problems, which will lead to more political situations. I guess China's been not a good market in 2023 because it had the virus and it had various and sundry things, had the housing collapse. I guess the housing collapse in China is certainly a notable event. The Chinese have had a huge property bubble for a long time. Beijing tried to stop it before. Whoever stopped it now, it stopped, and that's significant. The U.S. printed staggering amounts of money. The central bank in Washington, I don't think any central bank has ever printed as much as they did. So, of course, things feel good right now. Well, the Japanese also have printed staggering amounts of money, probably more than they ever have before. So between Japan and America printing a lot of money, those are two gigantic economies with a lot of money being printed, a lot of people having a good time. Nearly always the year before an election in the U.S. is a good year in the stock market. I already see some of the warning signs. You see some stocks go up every day. The list is getting narrower and narrower. You have new people coming into the market who've never been in the market before. They think it's easy. They tell all their friends they've discovered this new thing called the stock market and it's easy to make money. We've seen this movie before. This is not my first rodeo. I don't know about a hard landing or soft landing. It's been the longest period in American history without an economic problem. So maybe we're never going to have economic problems again. The politicians in Washington say they've solved all our problems. Well, if you believe them, everything's great. I happen to have read a little bit of history, and I know that's never been the case, so I'm worried. I'm not short. I'm not selling short or anything yet. I have cut back enormously, but I'm not shorting, not yet. Often, at the end, there's a blow-off, and things are really crazy. In 1999, I guess it was, the market doubled in 6 months or something in that blow-off. So we've had blow-offs before. They can be extremely profitable or unprofitable if you're on the wrong side. I am waiting in case there is a blow-off, and I hope I'm smart enough to short it if it happens. I wouldn't own bonds anywhere in 2023. Bond market's certainly a bubble. The cheapest asset that I can see in 2023 is commodities. Silver is down 60% from its all-time high, etc. But most assets, bonds are a bubble. Property in many countries is a bubble. Stocks are forming, getting ready for a bubble. No, I don't see any cheap asset classes except commodities. The main worry as I look out the window and look at the world, I see that more and more people are getting angry with each other, and that often leads to war, trade war if nothing else. Trade wars are bad enough. Nobody wins trade wars, but they sometimes lead to shooting wars, and certainly nobody wins shooting wars, but they certainly do enormous damage when they occur. Agriculture is very depressed, and there are many fundamental problems, and have been fundamental problems in agriculture, which usually leads to change. So if I were looking at any specific area, I would get out a list of the agricultural commodities and start looking for opportunities. That's where I see the best opportunity. Gold's at an all-time high. I'm not the only one who knows that. Oil's been very strong, et cetera, et cetera. Sugar is not very strong. I own gold, I own silver, I own precious metals. I have for many years. They're in the closet. Everybody should have some silver and gold under the bed, because if there's a problem, like all of us peasants know, when there's a serious catastrophe, you better have some gold and silver in the closet. So I do. But am I running out and buying gold or silver now? No, I'm mainly watching, because I certainly own enough of both of those. But everybody should have some gold and silver. Let's say, if a crisis comes, you want to have gold and silver. But the main thing is I'm looking for the blow-off, if the blow-off's going to happen. Historically, that's the way these markets end. We have a blow-off at the end. And if that happens, it's going to lead to opportunities for short sellers or opportunities for some people. So I worry because As I said before, it's the longest period in American history without a serious problem. So when the next problem comes, it's got to be very bad. Remember, 2008 was a problem because of too much debt. Look out the window. My gosh, the debt since 2009 has skyrocketed everywhere. Even China has a lot of debt now. China didn't have any debt 25 years ago, and so they could save the world in 2008. But now even China has a lot of debt. In Washington, Janet Yellen says, don't worry, we got it under control. We know what we're doing. We have figured out a way to solve all these problems. Now, Janet Yellen has degrees from 2 famous Ivy League universities, so if you believe her, wonderful. I happen not to believe her. I know we're going to have serious problems, partly exacerbated by Washington, but if you believe her, bye. I know that the inflation is not finished. Markets, go up, they correct, they go up, they correct. That's what's happened with inflation. Things feel better right now, and they are better right now, but no, inflation is not finished, and we're going to have more of it, and it's going to be serious. I hope you're worried. If you're not worried, you don't know what's going on. Money printing has always led to, many things lead to inflation, but especially money printing, and there's been staggering amounts of money printing in the last several months, years in fact. So it's got to be very bad next time. Normally, when the market comes to an end, the last high flyers are the best shorts. The Magnificent Seven, whatever they're called. The stocks that have done extremely well and that are very expensive. That, I hope, is where I'm smart enough to short next time around. I started investing in Uzbekistan, but that's not a big enough market to save all of us. There are not many markets. China's down. China's probably an opportunity. Japan has been going up finally. Japan will probably make new all-time highs soon for the first time in decades. But other than places like Japan, China, Uzbekistan, and agriculture, I don't see many things that are great opportunities that are very cheap. The Bank of Japan has been buying shares. They've been passing laws to encourage people to invest. All of these things have happened before. And when they happen, especially if you have a depressed market, the Japanese market made its high 35 years ago. That's not a typo, 35 years ago. And now the Japanese bank, central bank, is buying. The new tax laws are good for people who buy shares. There are reasons to think that Japan may go up. Now, Japan has horrible problems, guys. Japan's had a declining population for 15 years now. The debt is skyrocketing. Unless something happens, there's not going to be a Japan in 50 years. China's had the virus, and they had a real estate bubble pop, a huge bubble pop. So China's had some problems, which is why the markets are down, which is why the economy has been slow. But most problems come to an end. I can see the end of the property bubble coming to an end. I think I can see some of the problems in the virus coming to an end. And if that's the case, China is not a bad place to invest because it's a huge economy and lots of people working very hard. Well, we usually have something that when we have a big recession or depression, something triggers it. There's no one thing. The press talks about one thing, but these things accumulate over time. More and more small things turn into big things. And the next thing you know, it's on the evening news. And everybody says, oh my God, Lehman Brothers is bankrupt. But things were already going bad long before Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. These things build up. If you look back at 2007, 2008, Iceland went bankrupt. If anybody knew, they didn't care. But it was one of the first steps along the way till eventually Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, and we all said, oh my gosh, look what just happened. But Bear Stearns had gone bankrupt a few months before, etc. These things don't happen with one day, with one event. As I look out the window here, I don't see anything. I don't see stocks anywhere except a couple of countries I mentioned. I don't see bonds. I see bonds. I know bonds are a bubble. I don't see property. I guess there's some great property opportunities somewhere, but they're not widespread across the board. I wish I could see something. I'd like to look out the window and find something great. But unfortunately, out my window, I don't see these things right now. I'm looking. I certainly would like to find, but I cannot put all my money in Uzbekistan or agriculture. I remember 2008, and we had a big problem. Since 2008, the debt everywhere has skyrocketed. Japan, everywhere. So the next problem has to be the worst in my lifetime, because the debt is just unbelievable. And it's happening all over the world. And I don't see how the next problem cannot be the worst in my lifetime. I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to scare you. I'm just looking at facts. And I see all this debt everywhere. It's got to lead to big problems. When it all comes to an end, somebody's going to suffer. I hope I'm not one of them. I would suspect agriculture. I mean, I own silver and gold and things, but I would suspect agriculture. I said sugar's down 60% from its all-time high. That's not a bubble. Most agricultural products have been suffering for a long time. The average age of farmers in America is 58. The average age of farmers in Japan is 69. I mean, nobody wants to be a farmer, and that's one of the reasons that there may be opportunities in agriculture going forward.